Good evening. Sam Rabin here with you once again, the Community Outreach Director for the Farmville Area Habitat for Humanity. Well, here we are, folks. We are at the 12th hour of giving. This is our final hour as we approach 9 o'clock. The final interview we'll be doing. We'll have a recap at 9 o'clock, but the final time that we'll be chatting with somebody in our community. If you've been with us today, we've started way back. Seems like a long time ago now at 9 o'clock this morning out in Charlotte Courthouse as we met with Justin Hicks, who is the chairman for the Charlotte County Partnership. And then we spent most of the rest of the day around Prince Edward talking with various people. And now here we are winding up our day in Buckingham County. We are, for the third time now, I haven't moved. I've gotten to stay still this time, but in the Dillwyn Town Hall. And I want to thank the town of Dillwyn for allowing us to use their facilities tonight to make this possible. Well, here we are. It's been a great day. We've heard a lot of great stories as we've been chatting with Habitat homeowners, with volunteers, with board members, with staff, hearing some really great stories, and hopefully you've been encouraged by them. I know I have. I'll start off by saying, as always, please share these videos, watching it live, and of course they're all archived right there on the timeline on the Farmville Area Habitat for Humanity Facebook page. Continue to share those throughout the evening, tomorrow, and the days ahead. We want as many people as possible to hear these stories and be encouraged by them also. And as always, we would ask you to visit our website, farmvillehabitat.org, where you can learn more. You can learn about volunteering, register to become a volunteer, and also, as always, we encourage you to consider donating. Today is about giving, and we would encourage you to consider making a gift online today, as we are trying to reach our goal of $1,000 in online giving during our event today. And when we get there, which I still believe we will, that's very generously going to be matched by an anonymous donor who's going to match that with another $1,000. So we're looking forward to being able to double our gifts for today. So I'm here tonight with Bill Kemp. Bill has been just a longtime friend of Habitat, not only here in Buckingham, but in other places, as we'll hear about in just a few moments here. And just before we went live, I've been chatting with Bill, and he's one of those guys that has just great stories, a lot of great stories to share, and we could turn 12 hours of giving into 24 hours of giving and just hear some really wonderful stories about his involvement in Habitat over the years. Both he and his wife Judy, who have just been faithful to helping serve those in need of safe, decent, affordable housing. So Bill, thank you for bringing a conclusion to our day of interviews and broadcasts. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for asking.
So Bill, just give a quick introduction to those watching the video, who you are, where you're from, how long you've been in this area.
Sure. Well, I'm a former practicing dentist, kind of burned out back in 1987, and with these health issues, one of the big questions, what are you going to do the rest of your life? A few weeks after this happened, I was sitting in a doctor's office, picked up a Reader's Digest. There's an article about Habitat for Humanity. I'd never heard about it. In fact, I didn't finish the article. I got called into the office. About 2 weeks later, a Presbyterian minister, a friend of mine, called and said, "Hey, Bill, have you ever heard of Habitat for Humanity?" You know, these coincidences or something.
Right.
And he said, well, let's get one started here in the county. And that was in Hanover County. Okay. And we got started in 1988.
Right.
So, and it's been quite a journey. It's been fun.
So what was that process like of getting a Habitat started in a community? What was, it was a little bit of work involved in that.
It sure did. I don't know why, but I volunteered to be the first president. And when I volunteered to be president, I said, no, I don't want to be president for very long. I want to just be president until you finish the first house. That took 3 years. But it was 4 months before we got enough people together to really begin the process. Right. And initially, and I must say, I was not necessarily a good volunteer because we just kept running up against walls, and we couldn't find land, and we couldn't do this and couldn't do that. But I persisted with it. And I'm glad I did, because it's been one of the most beautiful journeys in both of our lives ever since.
And so share a little bit about kind of how you first came to know about Habitat, and not necessarily a coincidence.
Right.
Obviously, probably something that that God had in the plans for you
Sure.
to get involved with. And so we see how you start your Habitat journey and the time you spent helping start another affiliate in another county. But you've had a lot of other Habitat experiences
Sure.
over the years. Let's share a little bit more with some of your other Habitat experiences in other places.
Sure. Well, after roughly 3 years as the founding president, I'll admit I was a little burned out. And we moved, and I remember telling Judy, boy, I need a break from Habitat. Well, 2 months later, we were back at it. And this time I was swinging a hammer, which was a lot of fun. I might caution people about volunteering with Habitat, because you could end up with kind of a terminal case of hepatitis like I have. One thing led to another. At one point, we sold our house, bought a camper, went on the road for 6 years, building Habitat houses all over the country. But the beauty is, I hung in there long enough with it that I first of all became a better volunteer for better reasons, and really began to see how it was a two-way street. Not only were we helping other people, but we're helping ourselves, really, in a word, living out the gospel, which is what we're supposed to do.
Definitely.
And those early principles that I fell in love with Habitat are still present, and they're still what kind of guide me along the way. I just love the ministry.
Now, hopefully, you caught what he said almost in passing a moment ago. But 6 years.
6 years living full time on the road.
6 years living full time on the road. This is a program called the Caravanners.
Habitat
correct?
RV Caravanners.
Habitat RV Caravanners. It's hard to say one time fast. Traveling around to different habitats, working with different affiliates on builds, and they spent 6 years doing that. Bill, I imagine y'all traveled to some interesting places. Where are some of the places y'all visited in doing that?
Well, we've been from coast to coast several times, including Canada. We built in Calgary, Canada during the Stampede, which is the largest rodeo in the world. One of the reasons I say that is Habitat Caravanning was traveling with a purpose. Some people just go from one resort to another, and that's their retirement, and that's what they enjoy. We went from one house build to another, but in the process, saw national parks all over the country. As soon as we came into town, all these people just loved us and told us where to eat and do this and do that. And so it was just a wonderful 6-year experience. We got to see the country in ways we never would have, had we gone from one resort to another.
I'm going to ask Bill to share. He was sharing a moment ago with me. I'm asking him to share this story again. But Habitat, currently the international headquarters for Habitat for Humanity International are in Atlanta, Georgia. But they also have offices in a little town called Americus, Georgia, which is one of the founding places and early homes of Habitat. And they have something very unique there in Americus, Georgia, and something that Bill had a chance to work on. And so I'm going to ask him to share a little bit about his experience in the Global Village in Americus, Georgia.
Sure. Well, one of the founders' dreams was to have a park there in Americus near the headquarters and have examples of housing from all over the world. Today Habitat is in over 70 countries, and no two countries build houses the same. So we had this big park area, and they started building a house from India and a house from here. They actually got pictures and drawings and blueprints. And I worked on a house from Sri Lanka. Well, many years later, Judy and I were up in Calgary, Canada, volunteering with their affiliate. The building supervisor asked me to take 3 college students up on the roof and shingle it. One of the students was from Sri Lanka. And so we're up in the air on this roof and everything, and I turned to her and I said, I've built a house. I've built a Sri Lanka house. And she said, have you been to Sri Lanka? I said, no, it was in Georgia.
In Americus, Georgia, of all places. So quite something. Emphasizing not only, and we talked about this earlier today when we talked about the global tide, but not only is Habitat served locally, but also serves globally and caring about neighbors here and caring about neighbors abroad. So we've followed you now from coast to coast and up into Canada. But here we are now sitting in Dillwyn. So you come to Buckingham and you stay involved in Habitat. What's it been like getting involved here?
Well, it's interesting. One of the reasons we got the road is, I hate to admit it, but we're both getting up in age. Okay, so we bought a nice little house here in Dillwyn, fixed it up, and I turned to Judy and I said, "Let's go back on the road." And she said, "No, I've had enough traveling on the road." Well, sure enough, just like before, boom, we got involved with Habitat again.
That's great. And so you've been able to, you were involved in the build last year that happened here in Dillwyn. Beautiful house. And then right now, currently, we have two of our partner families are building here in Dillwyn. And one of those, Marquita Scott, who you can read all about her story, along with our other partner family stories on our website, farmvillehabitat.org. Getting ready, making those first steps and getting her house built with her. So, and then following that, right, with the Clark family, who we just spoke with the hour before. So you got a lot of work ahead of you here in Buckingham.
I think one of the amazing things about Habitat is, I've been in a lot of endeavors, and after 20 years or 5 years, you kind of lose interest. I just can't lose interest in Habitat. I've got this, terminal case.
Right.
And everywhere we go, we end up working with Habitat. But it's really been a lot of fun and very, very rewarding.
Right. And I will say this,